Welcome back to In the Kitchen with Grace. I hope you all are doing very well. Today I am making one of our family favorites. We are doing a buffalo chicken dip. This is great to have with Tostitos and crackers, and you could even make like little croissant sandwiches out of the hot buffalo chicken. And I have made this recipe a couple months ago and something happened in the editing and the uploading of it to YouTube. It like got stuck for like 4 minutes. So I said that I would come back and the next time we made this recipe, I would record it again. So that's what we are doing today. For this recipe, you're gonna want 2 chicken breasts. I have cooked mine in the slow cooker with some chicken and herb seasoning and chicken broth. And then I have let it cool and I have shredded it with forks. So it is cooled down quite a bit. You are going to want 8 ounces of cream cheese. You're going to want 2/3 cup of sour cream, 2/3 cup of hot buffalo dip. I use Frank's Red Hot Wing Sauce, the buffalo version. And then you are going to want a cup of sharp shredded cheddar cheese and a cup of mozzarella shredded cheese. My recipe, I usually use some diced green onions. I only have regular onions on hand, so I'm going to use that instead. And then we're going to add some garlic powder also. So it's a pretty simple recipe. This is absolutely a crowd-pleasing favorite, whether you're going to take it to a holiday get-together, it's game day party food, a potluck, or you just want it to have it at home throughout the week or the weekend for your family to enjoy. I absolutely love this recipe. And we're gonna just go ahead and get started. So I am going to do my cream cheese. I actually have just a little bit extra cream cheese from one container. So I'm gonna use probably about 10, 11 ounces of cream cheese here, but that's okay. I'm trying to use up some stuff we have on hand. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use a full 8-ounce container. I normally like to hand mix everything that I make, but this is one of those recipes where I do pull out the hand mixer because I feel like blending the cream cheese and the sour cream together is key. And then for my sour cream, I actually have about 3/4 of a cup left in here, so I'm not even gonna measure. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in. You don't have to be super exact on this recipe because the amount of chicken you have varies a little bit also. And I'm going to get my hand mixer and I'm going to blend this together now so that it's creamy and smooth. It also helps if you let your cream cheese sit out and get to closer to room temperature so it's nice and soft. So I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic powder in. And I'm just going to sprinkle it. Do about a teaspoon or so. And I'm going to add my onions. I do about 1/4 a cup maybe of diced green onion or regular onion. And then we're going to add our buffalo sauce. And I actually use a measuring cup for this because I don't want to get too much. And so I'm going to use my 1/2 cup here. Okay, there's 1/2 cup. I'm going to fill it halfway so we get, or not quite halfway. There we go. Close enough to 2/3 of a cup. Again, you don't have to be exact. Just don't go crazy on the hot sauce. You want that to be just the perfect amount of heat and not be so much that it doesn't gonna taste good. So now I'm gonna mix this together. This is one of those perfect make ahead, take along recipes. If you're looking for some other party food, game day side dishes, desserts, go ahead and subscribe. I have playlists set up for each of those, so you can check those things out. Crockpot mac and cheese is another good one. Okay, now I'm going to add my chicken. And again, this is 2 chicken breasts. They were good sized ones. Mix this together really well. I'm going to pour it into my baking dish. I'm using a pretty large baking dish here. This is also one of those recipes that's really easy to double if you're going to be taking it to a really big get-together, having a lot of company over. All right, and then I blend my cheese. I'm actually just going to shake it right on out here. So you can use really whatever flavor shredded cheese you want. I am going to mix the first layer of cheese in just a little bit. And then the shredded sharp cheddar we put on top. Just like that. Nice layer that covers the whole top. And then we're going to bake this in the oven. Probably for about a half an hour. I do mine at about 375 degrees. Every oven varies a little bit. You could also put this in your slow cooker. If you want an alternative as well, you could get a dry ranch packet and mix that into your chicken mixture as well. For a little alternative flavor, I'm going to go ahead and bake this and we'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. The hot buffalo chicken dip is done. It's ready. And gonna have some with some Tostitos. I hope you all like this video, and we will see y'all next time. Welcome back to In the Kitchen with Grace. I'm so happy you are here. Today I am making my own personal recipe for slow cooker bourbon meatballs, bourbon barbecue meatballs. This recipe I have been making for nearly 20 years. It is a family treasure classic recipe, and it's kind of one of a kind. I kind of call it a dash of this and a dash of that. And if you don't have all of these ingredients that are listed in the description below, don't sweat it. Use what you've got on hand, and they're still going to turn out amazing. So this recipe has 2 parts. First part is our glaze that we are going to start in a small skillet. And for the glaze, about a tablespoon of maple syrup, and you're going to want to get out whatever jam or preserves you have on hand. When I am making meatballs, I prefer to use cherry jam or preserves, fig jam, apricot jam, plum jam. Those flavors tend to really blend with all the other flavors that go into this recipe. And so I actually have a little fig and honey jam spread that I am going to use. If you are interested in learning some delicious glaze recipes for like pork chops, ham, turkey, I will link to my glaze recipes. I got 3 different ones aside from this that are absolutely amazing. We are going to add a dash, just a dash of Dijon mustard. There's something, and if you don't have Dijon mustard, y'all, you could use ground mustard. It really brings out, it's got like this subtle ability to bring out hints of flavor. And we're going to do a dash of hot sauce, just the dash. I happen to be using Cholula. can kind of use whatever you got on hand. Again, just a dash. You won't even notice. Again, this is really just a blend of flavors that just makes you go, oh my gosh, what did they put in this recipe? And then we are going to do a splash, not a dash, a splash of Worcestershire. And then we're going to get our bourbon whiskey. I happen to have single barrel rye whiskey on hand. I really like to use straight up bourbon, to be honest with you. And if I can find cherry bourbon and do that with the cherry jam, oh my goodness, you guys. But any bit of bourbon or whiskey will do. And we're going to do about 1/4 cup. Just like so. And it doesn't really matter what kind of barbecue sauce you use. I like to use a thicker barbecue sauce. And I like it to kind of have a hickory brown sugar, like a sweeter flavor to it. You don't want to use spicy, and you don't want to use, what is it called? Like the mustardy barbecue sauce. It's kind of strange. I've seen in the stores. Don't use those. Use a traditional barbecue sauce flavor. Again, you're going to add about 1/4 cup. And we're going to go put this in the skillet and kind of let it simmer a little bit and thicken up and blend together. So I'm going to put my small skillet here on medium heat, and I'm going to let this just kind of come into the skillet. If you would like to add a little bit of minced garlic, you can totally add that as well. I do that often. And you're going to just kind of let this, whisk this gently together, let it simmer. Incorporate all of it together. All right, we're going to go work on the dry ingredients and the meat. All right, we're ready for our meat mixture. I am using about 2.5 pounds of ground beef. You can use ground pork, ground turkey. Personally, this recipe I think just does really well with all ground beef, but that's totally up to you. I have about, I don't know, maybe 1/2 cup of diced onion. I'm using yellow sweet onion for this recipe today. It doesn't matter really what onion you use. And we are going to sprinkle in some Italian seasoning. Probably about a good tablespoon worth there. We're going to do about half a teaspoon of salt and pepper. Salt and pepper to your taste. Doesn't take a whole lot. I'm going to use 1 egg. This just kind of helps make your whole meatball mixture stick together. And then we are going to use breadcrumbs. So you can use, I usually use a blend of panko breadcrumbs and then like the really small crumbled breadcrumbs, usually Italian. I'm about out of one, so I have 2 open here, and I don't have any panko breadcrumbs on hand. So you could also use like crushed up saltine crackers. I've done that before. I usually use that in my meatloaf recipe. And then you're gonna want about a cup's worth total of your breadcrumb crackers that you're gonna add in. So about a cup total. I think maybe I had maybe 3/4 of a cup in there. Okay, this is where it gets a little gooey and a little messy, so don't be afraid to get your hands in there. You really want to incorporate and mix it up well. You're just gonna blend. You really want to get that egg in there. If you feel like your meatloaf, so anytime you have ground meat, just at how they're put together, some meats are a little bit more, have more filler in them. They're a little bit more fatty. They might be a little more, I don't know, moist, wet meat. We get our ground beef from a local meat locker, so this particular meatloaf is, or hamburger is a really good blend. But if you find that your meat isn't sticking together very well, you can add a second egg. Incorporate all the seasonings in here. Okay, I'm gonna get my slow cooker ready. You can make these in the oven also. When I do oven meatballs, I usually will do it at about 425 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes. Every oven's different. Just kind of gauge, keep an eye on it. I check on them about every 15 minutes, or after the first 15 minutes, and then about every 5 to 10 minutes after that, if you're gonna cook them in the oven. My slow cooker, I am gonna put them on low. I have some time, I have a few hours. I'm making this ahead for dinner tonight with our hot German potato salad and some baked beans. If you want that hot German potato salad recipe, I will link to that as well. It is so good. And then I'll probably do this on low in the slow cooker for maybe 2.5 to 3 hours. Again, slow cookers vary in temperature and time as well, so just kind of keep an eye on it and gauge it. You just want to make sure your meat gets thoroughly cooked through. If you were going to do a meatloaf, you could totally use this recipe for a meatloaf. You can see I have this in kind of a bread pan loaf. You would literally just pick this up, plop that in there, and put the glaze on top and bake it in the oven like that. But I'm going to get the slow cooker ready, and then we're going to blend our part of our glaze mixture into the meat and put the rest on top of the meatballs. Okay? So I'm going to use about half of my glaze. Kind of just going to sprinkle. Now this is hot, so please be careful. About half. And we're going to mix this in here in just a moment. It's hot, so you can see some steam, so I'm letting it cool. So I'm going to mix this glaze, half the glaze, into the meatballs. Mix that in real nice. Okay, and then we're going to start making our meatballs here. And maybe you're just one person, and there's only 2 people in your family, and you can totally cut this recipe in half and just use 1 pound of ground beef and cut the rest of the ingredients in half. I am making my meatballs about this big, not quite the size of my palm. I'm just gonna place them into my crock pot here. If you're interested in some other slow cooker recipes, I have chili. Oh my gosh, my chili recipe, y'all. It is so good. Southern Crockpot mac and cheese. Oh, that is a classic. What else do we have in the slow cooker playlist? I'm trying to think. The hot German potato salad I made yesterday is also another one that you can put into the crock pot. I will link to that playlist. I think these meatballs are getting a little bit bigger with each one. But I'll link to that playlist as well. If you are on Pinterest, find me there. I think the link is also in the description below, In the Kitchen with Grace 1 on Pinterest, and you can find all of my recipes there and pin and save them and share them as well. I appreciate it so much. So all of my meatballs are in the slow cooker. I think I made about 15 or 16 just for reference. The 2 pounds of ground beef made about 16 meatballs. And I am going to pour the rest of my glaze, my bourbon fig jam glaze, over the top of the meatballs. Just like so. I'm going to put the lid on, and again, I'm going to cook these ones on low for probably about 2.5 hours. I'm going to check them at the 2-hour mark, but I'm guessing it'll be about 2.5 to 3 hours. And if you need to cook them on high, you can certainly do so. Just keep a closer eye on them. My Bourbon BBQ meatballs are all done. They smell amazing, and we are pairing this with our hot German potato salad and some baked beans. This makes perfect leftovers for lunch the next day, and I'm sneaking a little bit early before dinner as well. We got the potato salad and the meatballs, and it's so good, you guys. I'm so excited for y'all to try this recipe. Welcome back to In the Kitchen with Grace. Today we are making slow cooker lime chicken tacos for supper. It is one of my personal favorite recipes to make and to eat. It's definitely a family favorite as well, and it's so easy to put together. Definite nice twist on taco night, Taco Tuesday. And so it really only requires a couple of ingredients. I have in my crock pot 2 chicken breasts thawed. You can totally add more depending on how many people you're feeding. And I have a bit of taco seasoning here. I'm gonna get my little bowl. And I am going to sprinkle in, I do about a tablespoon of taco seasoning per 2 chicken breasts. So if you're doing 4, do about 2 tablespoons worth, but I've got about a tablespoon's worth of taco seasoning. You can certainly use regular taco seasoning or the chicken kind. Does not really make any difference at all. I am going to sprinkle in garlic powder. Eyeball it, about a teaspoon. I love this recipe. No real measuring required. I'm going to do some cilantro. If you've got fresh cilantro, use it. It is stellar. It is winter right where we are, and I do not have fresh cilantro in my garden because I don't have a garden right now. So I'm using dried cilantro, but if you've got fresh cilantro, please use it. It is amazing. And then we have limes. I have some of the smallest little limes I have seen in the stores. So I'm using a bunch. They're teeny tiny, and I've cut them in half. Let me grab my strainer real quick. And I am going to squeeze the fresh lemons. Wow, fresh limes. Limes. I'm all about citrus lately. I made a citrus fruit salad. Oh my gosh, with oranges and grapefruits. Ooh, totally been on a fruit kick lately. So I am going to use probably 4 of these little limes. If I had normal, large, juicy limes, you guys, I would use 2, the juice of 2 limes. But these are itty bitty, so I'm going to go ahead and use probably 4 of them. I might squeeze in a little bit of my bottled lime juice also. I'm going to save 2 whole limes and to use as fresh juice to squeeze right onto our tacos right before we eat them. So I'm going to set those aside, and you can see that I got, I think, just about the right amount of lime juice. You really want to have probably a good 1/2 cup I'm going to squeeze in just a little bit more there. And then I'm going to get my whisk, and we're going to whisk this together. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of extra light olive oil. Probably about 1/4 cup's worth. Give this a nice mix. I love these lime chicken tacos. They are the perfect cold winter's night meal. They're also awesome in the summer when you got that fresh cilantro coming from the garden. Perfect anytime year round. The kids love them. And then we're gonna just pour our little seasoning mixture over the top of our chicken breasts. And I'm going to cover this. I'm actually gonna put it on high tonight because we have some concerts going on later tonight, kids' school concerts. So we're gonna eat dinner a little bit early, and it's early afternoon. So I'm gonna put it on high. When I cook these on high, I'm probably gonna do them for about 2 to 2.5 hours, and then they'll be ready to go. If I'm gonna cook them on low, it's closer to 3.5 to 4 hours. To help with my easy meal prep for tonight, I went ahead and diced up half of a red onion. I've got my little extra limes ready to go. The cheese is ready to go. We'll add some sour cream. And then when these are ready, I'm gonna pull them out, shred them with a fork, and it'll be all ready to go to stuff into taco shells. And yeah, it's gonna be so good.